So we got more Transformers Q&A stuff from Hasbro Pulse, and we're going to be doing a Beast Wars related one, questions that were posed to Evan Brooks at San Diego Comic-Con 2023. And again, like I said, there were so many of these to cover that we're going to be doing these over the next couple of days, dare I say next couple of weeks. Sorry about the segments being posted a little late the past couple of days. This weekend is the Montreal Otakudon, this 3-day humongous giant anime expo, and I'm going to be part of the Bandai booth there, the huge booth there. So we've been doing a lot of planning leading up to that. So if you're in the Montreal area, swing by Saturday or Sunday. I will be at the Bandai booth with all the different giant robot wares and model kits. You could come check out, hang out, and just say hi to the Proto Man. So anyways, let's jump into this this news here and a whole bunch of questions. So Evan Brooks answered a bunch of stuff, and he was asked a bunch of questions, and it gives us a better indication of what's going on for 2024 and the 40th anniversary of Transformers in relation to, let's say, the Beast Wars related stuff. We were in a Beast year. We had Rise of the Beast, the movie. What's happening with our Beast Wars and Beast Machines world? So the first question he was asked here are Transmetals something that would be interesting to dive into in the future? And Evan said, we are, and it's more than likely that we have to go with sprayed metal paint instead of a vacuum chrome. What he's referring to is all the old Transmetals used to use a vacuum chrome kind of metal look to it. Not the healthiest way to do stuff now in the factories in the modern era. They discovered that it's not very safe to do that, so they try to limit the amount of chrome that's done on toys today. So if they did do Transmetals, they will not have that chrome finish. They'll probably do something more of a metallic-looking spray paint, if anything. So that's a nice little touch there. They asked, this is an interesting one. They asked the question here, Polar Claw appeared in a piece of early Kingdom promotional artwork, but obviously never materialized as a figure. Is there any chance we could see a revival of that? Beast Wars fans seem to love him. And then the answer was, yeah, it's possible. It was something around John Warren's time when he was in the early planning stages. But when the team started to transition, it was decided that they would go with a Voyager-class Tigatron instead of Polar Claw, since they both were in a similar kind of scale. So, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I love Polar Claw, but I think Tigatron was the better choice of the two. Let's ignore all the, yellowing and everything that's going on with the Tigatron mold. I think that Tigatron was probably the best choice of the two in terms of a mainstream choice. More people know who Tigatron is from the shows, and even people who are more distant fans would know who Tigatron is, as opposed to Polar Claw. It would be nice to get a new Polar Claw since the original toy all those years ago, but at the same time, I get why they made the decision. And again, people have to understand, like, that the Kingdom really was that transitionary period where, like, the first couple half of it or so, maybe even just wave 1, wave 1.5, was the end of the John Warren era before we entered the Evan Brooks and Mark era of Transformers, and they felt that Tigatron was probably the better bet, but we'll probably see Polar Claw at some point. And then they continue the follow-up question with this to that piece of art here. What about the unmade fusors, the unmade fossilizers that were in that art? They're referring to, obviously, the saber-toothed tiger pieces that were on Optimus Primal and the crocodile one that was also seen there. And then he said, entirely possible, never really part of the plans. We let the poster artists do the designs, and then we created them based on what we liked. So might not happen, which is kind of a shame, but at the same time, it never really was in the cards to begin with. It was more just showing what possibly could be for a future line. In that case, it was Kingdom at the time. But still pretty cool. I would dig just having a saber-toothed tiger just for the sense that we could do some kind of like Power Ranger team from the Fossilizer Combiner, if anything. The crocodile one, man, we've gotten a bunch of crocodile stuff very recently due to Rise of the Beasts and everything. If I see a crocodile Transformer, I don't want it to be a Fossilizer. I want it to be a Beast Wars Megatron Croc homage, that thing. But we've had so many across Headmasters and everything, and then, like I said, all the Rise of the Beast stuff that... yeah, do we need now a fossilizer? I don't know. I think we're crocked out a little bit at this point. They followed up here. Would Beast Wars Torka be something you guys would be interested in doing? Maybe a leader or even commander class. Now, Torka is one of those huge characters, mostly referring to their size because of the IDW version. And it's a Fusor character. They said Torka, maybe it's always possible. It would be nice to do Fusors. So that is something they would like to do. Evan went on to say that if they did do Fusors, he'd like to do Quick Strike from Beast Wars as a core class. And if they did something Beast Machines related, they'd like to do a really screen accurate Cheetor, because they're really not happy with all the Cheetors we've gotten up to this point, which is a shame because, that Don Figueroa Titaniums one wasn't too bad, but I get where he's getting at. Can't rest your laurels on a Titaniums figure. There's always better times. They also said here, what is the Japanese Beast Wars figures you'd most like to do? So, of course, all the Japanese related Beast Wars figures, Beast Wars 2nd, Beast Wars Neo. He said Beast Wars Neo Big Convoy, good choice. Beast Wars Neo Magmatron, good choice. Beast Wars 2nd Galvatron, or the Galvatron that was exclusive to Beast Wars 2nd. BB and Starscream from Beast Wars 2nd would also be fun, as well as Diver. Well, you got to do Diver. Diver's amazing. So just a fun little crew of guys there. You got to do Diver, and you got to somehow work out a modern day Niagara base, just to have like the most awesome piece of Transformers material ever. So those were some of the Beast Wars related questions. Now, we do know through listings that we saw online, we've talked about this here on the podcast in the past, that the Transformers Legacy Uni line, whatever that line is going to be called in 2024 for the 40th anniversary, we do have confirmations that we're going to be getting a core class Tasmanian Kid, aka Beast Wars Snarl. The rumor is that he's going to be a extensive retool of the core class Rat Trap. We're going to be getting a Voyager class, Beast Wars Voyager class, Fusor Silverbolt. So if we do start with Fusors, it's going to be Silverbolt, and I think that's fantastic. He has had nothing. He's had his original toy, and then he had a couple of like Kabaya model kits and stuff, and of course his Robot Master. Like, he had very little merchandise, let alone a whole bunch of figures. To get a nice updated version that could have some cool sword like feathers and stuff, I'd be so down for that. And we do know that there's going to be a leader class Beast Wars Tigerhawk. So even a little bit of that Vok, I guess we'll call it Transmetal 2. It's not really Transmetal 2, but it fell under that naming convention on the packaging. That would be cool too, getting Tigerhawk, a nice update of that character. His original toy now goes for pretty good money because that's all we have, just that one version of that character. So that'd be pretty awesome too, and bring those old characters back. So that's what we know, at least in terms of Beast Wars, of those ones that are going to be coming back. So we will see what happens, but that's kind of the small little pocket of what's going to be happening with Beast Wars going into 2024. Some answers from Hasbro Pulse, and some confirmation, at least from listings that we've discussed in the past on the podcast here on Transformers Slag. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening. Again, I will be at Otakuthon this weekend coming up, Saturday and Sunday. Go check me out at the Bandai booth, and rock out with the robots in the skies, and I'll talk to you again in the near future.